Welcome back, everybody. We are about to jump into the semifinals where every single one of these players is walking away with some kind of prize already. We're going to find out how much that actually is as we continue to move forward. So our first round is going to be Tatsuni and Code, and second round is Snow versus Careless. Guys, we're with the casters right now. What do you think is going to... Actually, you know what? I was going to ask you what you want, but we're going to go right in. Listen, okay, we're going right into the fights. Never mind. I don't care anymore. Tell me about the fights. We're going right into Tatsuni and Code.
Well, welcome back. I think the first thing that I would be worried about if I were the contestant is how is a best of 5 going to change things up, right?
Yeah.
Because now we have a lot more safety to test units. We have a lot more safety to test, to do more tests like the CDOM versus Code had earlier. And there's a lot more room for you to adapt and learn, right? And I think that as these matches go a little bit more closer and a little bit higher up in the brackets, a lot of it will just come down to draft. We immediately see someone we've never seen before.
And interestingly, into 2 water units. Is that even scary for her, or does she just not care? I don't play Melissa, so I actually have no idea.
Her S3 actually ignores type.
Okay.
It does.
Right, so offensively, but also, did you guys catch the pre-bans?
Yeah, I did. But I think, Tatsu and Code are both trap house. I'm sure they fight each other all the time.
A gentleman's agreement, you would say?
Let's go full roster versus full roster. Let's not target ban. Let's make the match more interesting, which I'm sure everyone can appreciate.
Yeah.
That is huge. And honestly, being that they are in the same guild and do probably fight against each other quite a bit, they probably are playing mind games that we may not even get a chance to see with some of these characters. So let's just try to pick it apart as best as we can. We see an SSB ban and an A Ravi ban jumping right into it. So we are going to get a chance to see the Melissa. Let's take a look.
I'm so incredibly surprised that he let through the A-Lot's Melissa, because Melissa brings immense damage with her combo here.
And Melissa was actually pretty fast, too.
Yeah, I mean, you can't pick like a slow unit in RTA, right? Because you can't always count on the A-Lots being there. Oh, that is a dead little queen, I think. Unless something goes horribly wrong here. That is almost
the horribly wrong scenario happens. Into an LQ.
Is this a full heal?
Okay, doesn't finish the Oxlots.
All right, these outcomes, right, between turns are actually throwing me off so hard. I didn't think that the little queen would be able to survive the combo, especially with the curse proc, and I didn't think that any A-Lots could be standing up after a bonk from the little queen. She even had portrait, if I saw that correctly, didn't she?
Yeah.
I believe so.
So.
Was it because wait, portrait's the one that's above 50%, but you don't have to have damage on for portrait to matter, right?
Right. So portrait just straight up gives 20% increased damage. Right?
Yep.
And
okay.
That's pretty potent. Oh, yeah. I am so surprised right now. Immediately, I don't know. Hey, Code, can you start typing in chat again so we can see your commentary?
He's actually on the red side this time, so I don't think he can. Unless he types to you directly in Discord, which is possible.
Oh my goodness. Okay, the fact that the Melissa didn't kill is pretty big, right? Because Melissa, when she can kill things over and over and over again, she is immortal and she gets reset and she just does a lot of things. But when Melissa misses the kill on the S2, she looks very, very vulnerable, as she is, and she just straight up died.
I think that Melissa play would have worked on anyone's Valencia except for Codes, maybe.
Yeah, honestly,
that is true.
These guys, you can tell they know exactly. Well, you'd think they would know exactly what each other's gear are, but they probably did move a lot of stuff around. Even seeing Melissa picked into this is pretty interesting right off the bat. But to have had like a double survival now on Little Queen Charlotte is, I mean, gosh, mine would die. Mine would die 100%.
I mean, I want to give props to the Melissa, because Melissa by herself is a very, very risky unit, right? In the sense that if she does miss the kill, like half her kit falls apart. So to have the courage to pick a Melissa in any sort of competitive setting, like I wish I could use both my hands right now because I need to hold down the push to talk key. But I would clap for this man on stream if I had the opportunity.
Just for going for it. No, I hear that. So let's see. Is the damage here going to be enough to take the Arbiter Vildred down and proc the revive? Isn't quite enough.
No,
Not enough.
14k RB. He's pretty fat.
Yeah, but this one should though. So the
Yeah.
A-Lot's here, and I think he doesn't really have anything too much to fear here between the between her skills being back up and she being able to give herself immortality again. So if she kills the RB here, it's gonna be pretty nice. And that is an Etika Scepter. Oh, that is some extreme synergy that we're seeing between her own Etika Scepter and A-Lot's. That is a Spirit's Breath A-Lot's, right? So she just got her cooldowns up so fast. It's pretty incredible.
So is this the damage that has to be the making and breaking right here? Oh my gosh, that hit so hard.
Huh.
Yeah. So I think the realm might be dead here. So
Yeah.
we're gonna see if this mischance is gonna turn the match for us.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, what just RB happened is Jesus.
This mischance right here, this turn.
This will make or break it right
The
here.
color of the numbers. Didn't kill
Does
though.
it kill
Oh
again?
no.
Dude, this Melissa is falling short like multiple times in this, unfortunately. Even with not getting, I mean, the miss didn't even happen that time, did it?
No, it did not.
That's
That
what I
was a
thought.
honest crit. I don't think she can cycle fast enough. Yep, she cannot. And I think that might be the end of our Melissa debut.
So explain to me while this fight's still going on here, how does the Melissa cycling work? I actually don't play the character at all, and so it's interesting to me, like, how do you keep that invincibility up constantly?
So her
rotation?
S2 gives herself invincibility for a turn, and it also does some pretty good damage. Code makes that damage look a little bit less good. However, every time she kills something with the S2, she resets her own S2, and allowing her to use her S2 over and over again. So as long as she can keep killing people, she is completely immortal, and she keeps having a nuke. Now that falls apart when she fails. When she fails to kill on their S2, then her thing goes on to cooldown. She's relegated to using S1, and that leaves her vulnerable to die because she will be on 1 HP.
Gotcha. So, do we expect to see Melissa time 2? With as many kills that were missed that first game, I'm expecting to see something a little bit different. Glad to have seen the character, but do you think she'll get picked again? Or does she just need a little bit extra damage on the team? How do you end up seeing that happen?
It's definitely feeling a little bit like her damage is not quite enough against Code and some of the units that he's built. Even after they got rid of the Little Queen, even without the mitigation, as to not killing the RB was it was a little bit sad to see. So I would be very surprised if he bust out the Melissa again, knowing that his damage was just a little bit short.
We are seeing Tatsu tank up pretty hard, but also goes with the A-Lots again for this particular one. And then we're seeing a much more bruiser damage plus Crow coming out now from Code. Both of them still respectively picking Aether and Fire Mercedes as their pre-bans. So basically saying,
gentleman's agreement
pick
still
anything.
in
I'm
play.
not going to stop you.
So we keep talking about Code's health, but Lilac pointed out that this Oxlots for Tatsu's also. Did we see his health?
He was around 15k something, but I'm not sure if that's after Frenzy has kicked in.
Was that the initial shielding? Was FCC on the team last time? Was putting the
yes, she
initial-
was, but I don't think the shields affect the display of the number because he is on the side that we're watching, right? So the green number at the bottom left will accurately show his HP value. So I guess in this one, on the first turn, we can, if it doesn't get banned out, we can take a look here.
Thinking about banning the Dizzy here, that's going to be a lot. That's a pretty, that's a pretty damagey comp for Code, I'd say right there. That's looking like a lot of damage.
The A-Loss ban is not surprising. So one, you know that the Alots is fairly tanky, and two, you know for a fact that that's a Spirit's Breath, right? So we don't see a whole lot of features where Alots is used as a cycler instead of like as a cleave enabler, and we don't usually see Alots take too many turns in the fight because he either did his job or he's dead. But Spirit's Breath Alots, the ability to cycle someone every single turn is very, very, very potent, not just for cleaving, because he acts as the speed of whoever teammate he chooses to give it to, and he cycles cooldowns like immensely. So to leave up an Alots S2 that you know it's going to be a little bit more on the bulky side is very dangerous. So I'm glad that he banned that out.
So we're
there's enough damage this time.
Yeah, entering game 2 here. This is already shaping up to be like completely different styles second time around. This is kind of fun. I'm really enjoying watching
There's
two
the
people.
DN. And there's the potion vial. Oh man, that one turn with the counter and the potion vial proccing, that played out so clean. Get rid of the attack up. You don't want to deal with that attack up. And then,
Oh my gosh.
ooh. Oh man, now this DN is gonna clean that off the. Is gonna clean that off the little queen, right? And we know that Alencia's dispel is quite on cooldown right now. So that little queen, once she gets her immunity up, if she's allowed to get her immunity up, is gonna be very, very, very scary.
So we are in a best of 5 situation right now. So this being game 2, even if Code were to take this particular one, there's still going to be at minimum a game 3 after this. But this one, who we thinking has the upper hand right now between Tatsu and Code?
Well, let's see how healthy the S10 is. So now that we've used a bunch of S3s and the Arbiter is looking a little bit unhealthy. Oh, that changed things a lot. So if the little queen had managed to get her turn and she was allowed to kill the Arbiter Vildred, then there will be quite a couple of turns left before the SSB is really that threatened, right? So that would have allowed the did I say SSB? I meant S10. That would have allowed the S10 to move a lot more. But now that the Arbiter is still there, and oh man, there's so much going on in this.
There
match.
really is.
This could go
Even
either way.
opting in to heal the Little Queen Charlotte over the Spectre Tenebria does make some sense at this point, because I guess you're probably banking on the fact that you really want to have more control with your LQC, and she was taunted, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that why they went that route? I'm assuming that's the reason they went that route instead of going the Spectre Tenebria, is just being able to have some control again.
I think this Ruel might be dead.
I think she really wanted to get her skill off then and there, and I think that maybe he's deciding that the S10 is just gonna die too easily to the SSB once she procs another S2, and rightfully so, right?
Yeah, the S10 I think's dead here too.
And since the S10 did manage to take a turn, so definitely, I think favoring the little queen here. He might think that the Little Queen was a more sustainable DPS throughout the course of the fight.
So
would you soul burn this? What do you guys think? Would you soul burn this DN right here?
Remind me, the soul burn for Little Queen is an extra turn. Is that correct? Like you go S3 correct. And then you can S1 afterwards?
Yeah, I don't think the soul burn was necessarily bad, but he runs a counter Celestine DN. So, like, it's not like he's going to get extra healing out of it. It's just...
Right.
Oh, that's right. That is a Celestine.
That's right. That's a good point.
A little bit faster.
That makes sense.
You do gain the CR from the S3 as well. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
No. You're absolutely right. Because if that was a Rod, that makes the soul burn a lot more appealing. I just completely forgot that he's on Celestine. Good catch. Thanks.
So with the Crow S3 down... we're going to have to see how many more turns Tatsu can stay alive here.
It's going to depend on how many counters he gets.
Ooh, that counter is huge.
Yeah,
it's
that
going
is
down
huge.
to the wire. A lot of people were surprised seeing this counter Celestine, but we saw this earlier from Tatsu, correct? I think against Tryhard?
Oh, yeah, he showed this earlier.
So.
It just slipped my mind.
Oh, yeah, of course. Like not you. There's a lot of people in chat.
Okay, does he proc Mind's Eye? Is the big thing here. He does. So this
He is
this can still
vulnerable.
go either way.
Does he
Yeah.
have enough effectiveness? Not
Does-
enough, but enough damage.
Still might do.
This is gonna finish though, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
This is a
1v1
hard
me,
one.
bro.
so does
I
the
think this is a hard one.
okay, so opts into getting the immunity up so as to not get defense broken. I think.
Yeah, place your bets, boys. Who do we think? 1v1.
I think
Valencia is really strong at this point.
Yeah, I think that LQC has some favor here, unless. But he doesn't get the immunity. So
Right.
if he does proc the Mind's Eye on this very turn, then we can have some issues.
Oh,
okay,
he
there it
procs
is.
That
it.
heal is big.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
so there's no reason not to Sovereign the Alencia here. Okay,
Gets the
yeah, okay,
defense.
okay. There you go.
Do you
Is that
think
game?
he should have
That's
waited
game.
one more turn before using his S3 and hold the immunity? Would that have made a difference there?
Maybe.
What was his health? He maybe just. I think he might have died, right?
I think he was just hoping for not the Mind's Eye, right? Because regardless of what you go
Yeah.
for, if you do proc the Mind's Eye, then you are in some danger.
Man, so Code's up 2 now. Tatsu against the wall. What do we see coming out to kind of make that difference? I will say it felt like game 2 was significantly closer than game 1. At least from a pick ban perspective, it seemed like it worked out better in Tatsu's favor for game 2. Does Code look like he's struggling at all yet? That's my question. Is like, do you see like a chip in his armor where there's like something to be like, okay, if we hit him with this should hopefully make the difference? What are you guys seeing in this, like with his ban phases?
So I think if we're allowed to meta game a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I think Code and Tatsu are probably buddies. You know, it's all in good fun. They don't even pre-ban against each other. They're probably enjoying this match, right? But I think that if Code were to be worried about anything, he shouldn't be worried about Tatsu. He should be worried about the other two people who are watching this game, right? Because in a lot of other matchups, Code took it very convincingly, and he looked very healthy taking those convincingly. The fact that Tatsu can bring him down to this kind of situation means that other people are also getting critical information about what kind of because for every debuff that you land against Code, for every point of damage that you do against Code, because he is known to be a defensive player, other people can pick up that information and they can make assumptions on what kind of stats that Code units are running, right? So if anything, he's not worried about Tatsu. If anything, he's worried about the other two. And we know that Snow on the other side has very, very giga brain downloading capabilities. So that might be running through his head. But I honestly think the two of them are just enjoying the match right now.
That's awesome. So hit me with this then. If they're going that direction, and this is more of a like we're just making this an entertaining round more than anything, right? Like we're looking for the entertainment value. Does it benefit if they, I mean, let's say super big brain, they decided, you know what, we're both already making money on this tournament. I'll throw this one. You make sure you get your you put on a couple of different picks. Yeah, super big brain, crazy plays, right? Not assuming that would happen, mostly because we're seeing different picks. Is this just to put on a show and kind of if this giving up like too much is my question. Like if you know you have to worry about these two coming up, is this giving up too much information?
I don't think they would consider it that far. I think they're just enjoying the game and enjoying the match.
But...
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna like try any funny stuff like that.
Right.
It does let the A-loss through though.
All right, here we go. Game 3, boys.
It may be a show, but that last round could have went either way.
Definitely. All right, so we're gonna see a lot of cycling on Tatsu's side this time, because that is for sure a Spirit's Breath. And so we didn't really have time to take a look at the draft here. So I think this is Code's side looks like he's very, very comfortable with these 4 units, and he must be having a lot of fun picking these 4 units, right? Because he loves his Crow, he loves his Dizzy, he loves Ruel, and no reason not to like SSB here. What do you guys think? How do you guys think this is gonna play out? I mean, other than the fact that it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna go late frenzy, and late frenzy, I think Code has a superior draft.
Definitely, yeah.
Guys, I'm seeing
Until
the chat
then.
blow up a little bit about what I said. I hope you understand. If you know me at all, you know I was kidding. Like, why would they do that? They'd have no reason to. The question was, moreover, are they putting on the show, and is that giving away too much information or not? Not so much. I know there wasn't. What would be the point? They have no point to. This is a fun tournament for them anyhow.
One thing I do know, like, Alencia here is pretty much going to have a permanent Mind's Eye, assuming, RNG isn't completely terrible. But pushing into late game with Alencia here as well, and I know Tatsu's Alencia does a lot of damage. So, I don't know. It could be interesting to see what happens once we get to, like, Frenzy 7.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's going to get to that.
Because it is, after all, Alencia against a bunch of blue units, right? And
Yeah.
notice her artifact. Her artifact is the one that gives her more crit chance over the course of many turns. So we can make a couple of assumptions here, right? We can assume that Alencia has very good stats on a lot of things that are not crit chance. And if the match does go long, then she's gonna get all of that crit chance on her stats back with her artifact. So this, I will be very concerned about this Alencia going into late game.
Right. I think we mentioned we thought Code is really strong late game. Do you guys think, that being said, with Alencia that strong, it's going to go down to the wire?
If it wasn't a Crow, I'd say that it'll be a lot more. It'll be a lot more favored for Tatsuni. But the fact that Crow exists and he can horse, and that horse does immense damage regardless of anything, and the fact that Tatsuni does not have a reviver.
Yeah.
I think that those things add together will make things quite difficult for Tatsuni late game. So he has to navigate his turns very, very carefully.
Yeah, the win condition for Code here is just to remove that Alencia from the game. The win condition from Tatsu is basically remove all of that stuff. Because if you don't get rid of Ruel, she's going to bring something back. If you don't get rid of Dizzy, she's going to debuff your team. Crowd's going to S3. SSB just does damage constantly. Like, it's there's a lot more things to deal with there. Or you could just delete SSB like that.
Right. There will be a lot of like playmaking opportunities in this matchup because Destina gives CR and Alots gives CR every single turn. So if he can set up a situation where he plays around the Crow horse and allowing and like mitigating the damage on the Crow S3, right? So that none of his units die, then he puts himself in a much better situation because it is still green versus blue. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah, and the CR gain on his team is actually ridiculous.
Right. Like throughout the course of the match, chat, like if you want to like really digest this match, like you really want to pay attention to how many the cooldowns on Tatsuni's side and how many just turns that he's taking, because this Spirit's Breath Alots is going to get a lot of value.
Brings back the SSB. We're now looking at back to the 4v4. What's the prediction for Frenzy stage? Where are we going on this one? 'Cause we know it's going to be long.
What's the maximum we can go? Is there a Frenzy 50?
I don't know. I've never been that
Maybe
far.
we get to find out this match.
Yeah, we'll break some records today.
What happens when Frenzy hits so high that your character may as well be a level 5? Are we looking at level 5 matches at that point?
I mean, okay, if Frenzy hits super high, I think Alots might take it, right? If you're getting to a situation where everyone gets one shot at them, that fat Alots S3 is just going to cleave, you know?
That's true.
But I don't think we'll come to that.
I don't either.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna see if that was a Mind's Eye proc. Oh, and yeah, like throughout the course of the match, a lot of what's happening a lot of what's gonna happen to Code's team will depend on whether or not that Mind's Eye proc comes out. So, do you just take the Dizzy kill here? Can you kill the Dizzy here? You should be able to, right?
That's
Yeah,
a
most
question.
definitely. We've seen her damage. Well,
Yeah.
Without
Is he
Mind's
really
Eye, do
worried
you-
about the Dizzy, though?
Hmm.
The Dizzy is consistent Mind's Eye procs for Alencia.
Oh
I mean,
my
the thing
gosh,
is, you have
doesn't
this
even need
opportunity
it.
to just take out a unit, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you take that chance? because then having a unit dead also gives Ruel the decision-making factor of whether or not she wants to res someone, and if that's the wrong target, then
And the Oxlox is gone.
the Oxlots is gone, and that slows down Tatsu's team by a lot. And now he has some problems killing the Ruel, I think. And yeah, you mentioned earlier that the win condition was to get rid of the Valencia, right? But he chooses to get rid of the Alots, and I think that's suddenly.
Yeah.
I think Tatsu's feeling that lack of Alots here.
Because you can ignore the Valencia for the most part. But when it starts getting really low frenzy and you can't ignore her anymore, that's when I think she becomes way more threatening. Because we can already see how much damage she's doing now.
Oh, for sure. But
Could it also have just been that he knew he would get the kill on Oxlots instead of maybe not secure the kill there on Valencia?
I think that was definitely a consideration too, right? So now, who do you think wins this race here? Because now it's looking quite difficult for Tatsu, I think.
I'm personally thinking that Code probably has it because of the res potential and the ability to just like, if you're gonna go this many turns, the amount of times that you can just eventually horse somebody off. Do you just take them out slowly, one by one?
Pretty much, yep.
I guess that would be my prediction. It's probably Code at this point, just due to the picks at this point and not having. I think you guys made such good points about Oxlots earlier. The longer it goes, the more value that Oxlots has, because then you're cycling and hitting so much harder on those units. But with Oxlots gone and having no ability to come back, this one's going to be, I think, a little bit harder.
One dual attack here will change many things here.
That's true.
Oh no. I mean, at the moment at least, right, it's definitely looking like the SSB is under some pressure and the side of Tatsu is not. So maybe Frenzy does play a factor here, I think.
That's very possible. I mean, how far are we at now? I missed the last one that popped up. We've got to be at least.
We'll catch the next one. That could very well just be a dead SSB here.
Yeah, very possible. Oh, lives with a sliver.
That seems like a reoccurring thing, huh? When you're fighting Code, all his units just survive with just a sliver.
Yeah.
It does feel that way. Pretty consistent.
We saw that with Aether Bulge too yesterday.
7.
So, like, Ruel has to res someone here, right? Because she definitely wants to bring back someone. Was she just waiting for the SSB to bring her back, and then potentially just hoping for some nice crit on green units?
It's going to be really hard to do with anti-crit.
I mean, that
Still possible.
But also, I think if Destina has enough ER, then maybe this gets turned a little bit, right? Because if you just keep punching the SSB, you don't let the Crow horse. Because that was that one turn where Ruel healed up the Crow from like a good HP range to almost full HP, right? So if you don't let the Crow get a good horse off, and then afterwards you get rid of the SSB and then you start pressuring the Ruel, I think there's a good chance that you can navigate around. Oh man, this SSB is just dead. Yeah, and now you're just gonna start punching the Ruel, right?
This stage of the game is so strong.
Right, and then here's where Ruel's S1 sort of like plays against herself a little bit, because every time she S1, she involuntarily heals Crow. So if Tatsu here just completely ignore the Crow and just keeps pounding the Ruel, this Crow will never get a good horse off.
Yep.
Yeah, great point.
Yep.
Until
but the damage is starting to come up, right?
Code all of a sudden on the back foot now.
Yeah.
100%. So like it's like the Code's Ruel's ER is gonna get tested here, I think. because one defense break could spell the end.
So are we expecting that Ruel is going to have to use the S3 eventually on herself because she's going to be just getting pelted, or?
I don't think so. She still has her S2, and I think that at least at this stage of Frenzy, she still has a lot of survivability thanks to Krau's defense buff, right?
Right.
She won't need to desperately use the S3. And even if she is forced to use the S3 when it's up, I think that potentially she also chooses not to use it on herself, even if it means that she dies, right? Because if your Ruel and Krau couldn't keep up before, her healing herself for one more turn is not going to give you the win condition.
Yeah, that's a good point. So then thinking about that with Ruel at this point, what does like of the two characters that Code can bring back up, who do you bring back if you do decide to S3, and at what point becomes the best time? Because you're going to come back with invulnerability and full health. So is he just kind of waiting out the frenzy stacks, waiting till the real damage comes in?
I honestly couldn't tell you, because if you look at the HP values right now, the Destina, this DN has 6k HP.
Yep.
So now it becomes a real test of decision making, because and you know, if anyone has the experience to decide that, it would be Code. Would Dizzy be more valuable here, knowing that she can potentially take an extra turn with her S2 with the Soulburn S3, or would SSB be more value here, knowing that she can potentially land unbuffable and unhealable? So we
Looks
get
like
to
we're
see
gonna
Code's
find out
decision
right
making
here. What's the verdict? Do we keep?
And I think that this is also going to be a very interesting question for the analyst test. This decision right here, like which unit would have given you the higher chance win when choosing to res. Yeah, so Code acknowledges that he's not going to get a horse opportunity, so he just pumps out as whatever damage he gets access to. Chooses to use the Soulburn too, since he didn't res Dizzy, right? So like we're getting very close to the end of the game here. That crowd started with 20 something k HP, now has 8k HP.
Yeah, definitely. Tatsu putting on a workshop on how to handle Crow even in the late stages.
Yeah, it's interesting too, even just like seeing the 2-turn defense break getting put up and how that kind of forced Code to go, okay, what am I gonna do? Like what's my options? Do I either get this off myself and S3 myself, and then like you said with the analyst talking about this later, curiously enough, decides to pick SSB and is this almost like sacrificially going for the Royal? It's not now because he gets the S2 up, so that's gone. But initially thinking, having all of those, was he just expecting to lap? Is that why there was no problem there?
I'm not sure, but I'm still thinking about that one turn where the Ruel used the S2 on the crowd to bring him up to very, very healthy amounts of HP. I'm wondering if he chose not. Oh man, yeah, this right here. So I'm wondering if that decision could have influenced anything. And we know that this is not a rod, right? But the Destina is going to take a turn, so the Destina is going to do something. Ooh. But this S3 could be huge here. This could just end the game right now.
This Valencia may be dead. It just crits. It missed. Drink.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a huge ending for Code there. Does that end up, correct me if I'm wrong, is that a 3-0 then? Did Code end up finishing up?
I think yes.
I think so.
So, guys, that's the end of our first round. I'm going to hand it over to the analyst desk. Literally, wow. They both had like such incredible things. I'm going to hand it over to you guys though now. Take it away.
Thank you for that, Arc. All right. 3 exciting matches with Code showing us he does deserve his ranking in the RTA ladder there. And let's have Tiber talk us through game 1 and what happened through game 1 there.
Thank you. Game 1 was a great showing of how even these two players are and the level that they play at. Absolutely outstanding. It felt like every round it was a give and take, a push and pull between these two phenomenal players. We got to see Melissa's debut match, I think, just in this entire cup in general, if I'm not mistaken. Absolutely incredible, paired with the Spirit's Breath Oxlots. The biggest deciding factors that I want to talk about with that match, though, I think was the fact that Code just tanked it out. Having an Aureus on that Crow, a Knight to have damage mitigation, just made it way too hard for him to confirm a kill. And for those that don't really know how Melissa's skill kit works, She was on Atticus Scepters that has a 50% chance per turn to cycle her cooldowns, but she missed the crit on the A Vilget at the end, which unfortunately, even though she killed, does not get an extra turn proc. And even then, she needed another coin flip to S2 kill the MLK and grant her immortality. And even then, Kraus still had the defense buff and was able to solo the Melissa. So no matter what, that game was completely set. But another interesting thing to note is we saw how powerful Ruel was throughout the entire tournament so far. And the deciding point, I think, in game one was Crow S3ing, just forcing the Ruel down and removing him completely from the game. And Code, a masterclass on how to deal with one of the strongest units, I think.
Yeah, definitely seeing a lot more of those typical units being taken now. Crow being a decisive pick from Code's side, making use of Crow there, and knowing exactly how to use his tanky units. And game two, Once in Love. Do you want to take us through game two and what happened there?
Yeah, so game two was interesting. We saw the first pick DN from Tatsuni, which actually turned out to be a counter set Celestine DN. And then we saw the bans. Oh, I'm not going to go over the whole thing with the bans, but the Alots was gone, the Dizzy was gone. The talking points that I want to bring up specifically, one, the counter set Celestine DN gives a lot of turns, actually gets that nice heal, has a lot of good RNG, able to cut and move on. The casters brought up 2 points that they wanted us to talk about. One of them was Ruel optioning to cleanse the Little Queen Charlotte instead of healing the Spectre Tenebria. The SSB was not ready to kill the Spectre in that exact turn, and he also had a defense break on the LQC which needed to be cleansed, so that was why that option went there. I do think that was the right choice. There's one other point that we brought up where we weren't sure if it was the right choice. At the end of the match, when it was the LQC in that kind of like 2v3, LQC DN versus the, I believe it was Crow, SSB, and the Alencia. What I think should have been done is instead of soul burning the LQC to kill the SSB, if he had saved it and killed her and then followed with pressure afterwards, because he still had DN skill 2 to cleanse. If the Crow provoked, he actually would have had the soul burn ready to kill the Alencia at the end of the match. So I think that was like a really, really close choice where he had to decide, okay, can I kill this SSB without the extra turn or not? If he was confident in killing it, he didn't need the soul burn, he would have won the match.
Yeah, definitely one of the things we were discussing a lot about when we saw that, whether that decision was correct or not, and how that probably was and could have been the biggest turning point for them there. And game three, as you guys saw, starting off heavily favored on the Tatsu side, having Destina, Diane, A-Lots on Spirit's Breath, with Alencia being 25k HP, just really tanky. Tatsu was able to cycle his team really hard there. He was able to get a lot of damage. It was heavily favored on Tatsu's side, but the big turning point there is, to be honest, the moment A-Lots was taken away from Tatsu, he lost a lot of that turn cycling. He lost a lot of that potential threat that he had there. And eventually, even though we saw Tatsu being able to kill off the Dizzy and the SSB from Code's side, we were able to see that Code was able to get the revive off on SSB, and being Frenzy has been stacked up there. Code was able to use SSB to kill Tatsu there. And honestly, the choice between reviving SSB and Dizzy, I think SSB was the correct choice. It was the best possible choice there. If he did end up reviving Dizzy, he wouldn't have had enough damage. And between the cleanse with Ruel and DN, then you wouldn't have any threat having Dizzy revive. So SSB definitely made the match there for Code. And with that being said, we do have our next match, which is going to be Snow X versus Careless. And I see a lot of you guys in chat rooting for Snow, but where are the people rooting for Careless? Huh? Where are the people rooting for Careless? Non-biased opinion. Non-biased opinion, but go Careless. Anyways, on that note, pre-bans are starting. Let's get into the picks and bans on this next match. And Ark, take it away.
Thank you guys very much. Guys, of all the matches we've seen so far today, First off, want to huge congratulate Code for 3-0ing right there, going to be in the winning spot, and then we're going to see Tatsu coming in for the 3rd and 4th place match. But right now, we've got Careless and Snow, who have so far been literally throughout analysts and casters so far have been talked a lot about now of being very calculated, very I'm going to counter what you do people, and both of them have shown to do that exceptionally well. So I'm extremely excited to watch these games play out. Talk to me about these pick bans, boys.
Man,
So far, it seems pretty standard. Snow, it looks like he's going with the green units again. So I'm looking at probably a Kayron ban here. And S10 I think is more so like I'm taking this so you can't have it because I think S10 is really strong into his draft. And that's just what I'm seeing so far.
the pre-ban Bazaar makes perfect sense because a Bazaar who can strip Kayron is a deadly Bazaar, and we don't deal with that here.
Does pick Lilius as the last pick. These, okay, interesting comps. We have seen Snow get away with the Alencia Charles now in multiple games today, and they have both been exceptionally deadly for his comps. I guess we're going to end up seeing here pretty soon what this ends up looking like. He's careless, not willing to show the bans up front, just making circles with his mouse. Smart play, waiting till the 6 seconds. Hits it, and does decide to take Alencia out. Probably a good call considering how much work Alencia has done for Snow so far. And then we see the DN getting taken away from Careless. So let's jump into the game here real quick, boys. What are we thinking?
The DN ban made a lot of sense, right? Because that removes attack up on Careless side. I mean, Kayron gives it to himself naturally, but he won't have it for the initial S3. And SSB will just never have attack up. And if that SSB is holding drink, then that severely, cuts the damage coming out from the drink proc every single time. It adds up.
It's a rebuttal here from SSB onto all 3 immunities, so no defense breaks on, as well as a heal from the Elena.
And we see that is a drink proc. So not having attack up on the SSB string is, I think, will if this match goes a bit longer, will definitely matter.
Yeah, I think that was a great ban. I was also leaning with Warball. I thought the Kayron was going to get banned out.
Dealing with Deanne Ruel on the same team is more annoying, I think, than Kayron.
All right, so let me ask you guys this, right? That Kayron went for the S3 on the first turn. Do you think that was necessarily the right play? So hear me out here. Because if he goes ahead and S1, he has a chance, although unlikely, to land mischance on Snow's team, right? And also by activating S3 early, you're sort of wasting one turn of attack up, right? Do you think he should have opted for the S1 instead, just to try to apply the mischance?
Interesting. I mean, maybe he has some kind of plan for really just unloading the damage this second turn. Like maybe that's the reason he picked it that early. Because I would agree. I think that makes sense. Because the only real thing you're hoping to get out of that is what, attack buff? Because you can't really do much else against all that resist and invulnerability. You could maybe land a stun if they didn't have immunity up.
I think maybe he didn't factor that in, right? I'm trying to think of any reason why he would just set up the thing, because he knows that there is an SSB on the team, and he should know for a fact that if the SSB decides to S3, coupled with Elena's buffs, that's just going to pretty much nullify his next turn, right?
Yeah.
So I think the S1 on the first turn, going for the mischance on S10 and Charles, is pretty valuable.
I think the S10 still had immunity.
Is that a Moonlight Dreamblade as well?
Yeah, it's a Dreamblade Kayron, which in turn, like, the S10 missed and failed to proc the immortality there, literally by like you couldn't even tell how much HP he had. He probably had 2 instead of 1.
Okay,
which is actually pretty huge.
This is huge. Yeah.
This attacks that Snow is getting is like,
yeah, no kidding,
showing you how cruel RNG can be sometimes.
All right, Warball. So to answer your question earlier, right? Why didn't he ban the Kayron? So what if Snow? Okay, was there any evidence for Snow to know that was a Moonlight Dreamblade Kayron?
I don't think so.
I don't think
Okay.
initially because of that S3 he had the attack buff up like right off the bat. I don't know. Would you have gotten a chance earlier to see that?
Because if somehow Snow could Giga Brain the stats on this Kayron, right, then a lot of the reason why he didn't ban that makes sense. Because with how fast this Elena is, pretty much Elena will have her S2 up every single time Kayron swipes, right? Oh wait, no, she doesn't. Okay, never mind. I thought that was some like Omega Brain play.
Wait
I
a
think
minute.
that's a visual bug.
Yeah.
That is a
Oh,
visual.
does
Okay,
not strip
I was
it.
about to say what?
How
Yeah,
huge is that it
Kayron
didn't
dodging
get
that
stripped?
immortality earlier was so crucial right now.
Yeah, I think that might have actually turned the match. It's that one Dreamblade proc.
Oh, the Charles is dead here, right? Oh wait. Yeah, no, the Charles is
Oh,
dead.
yeah,
There's
Yeah,
no way.
Charles
There's
is
no way.
very dead here. Oh my gosh. What a
Yeah, and
quick turnaround.
do we want to play this out?
That
We
should
actually
seal
play
the
this
deal.
out? I mean,
It looks like he's not going to.
Because in a
Obviously-
world, there was a chance, right, for the Elena to kill the Kayron, and then we have a 1v1 between Lilius and Elena.
I think the takeaway is should have banned Kayron.
Golly,
Yeah,
did
maybe.
anybody? I mean, at least on our end, did anybody think that was going to happen right at the end? Like that was such a
No,
huge turnaround.
honestly, I think the
honestly
DN
thought
ban was
Snow
good.
had
It was-
it, and then that turnaround was huge. So Careless does go 1-up in this best of 5 against Snow. Again, both of these guys, we kind of were able to touch on at the beginning. Both of these guys are super good at drafting. So now that we're going to see a totally different person in the first pick round, if you know that both teams, if both players like to pick against each other, does it benefit you to actually be second pick?
Maybe in some circumstances.
Yeah.
I think the value in getting second pick over first pick is usually you can take 2 of the good supports, right?
Are we? I guess
Typically
and
what
that's
I
the
see
kind
out
of the
a first
question right
pick
now,
is you
right?
take
I
a
was
high
like, do we
rank
have?
win, but taking an FCC first pick is not uncommon as well.
And I will ask, right? Do you think that the Moonlight Dreamblade on Kayron, now that it's shown, will come back and affect the outcome of like the drafting over the course of potentially 5 games? Because you know now that the Kayron doesn't have knife, you know he doesn't have portrait, you know that he doesn't have he doesn't have DD or anything that boosts his damage more than what you would expect. So if you are in a position to play around the Moonlight Dreamblade, right, there are a couple turns where Kayron takes after his initial attack buff falls off that if he doesn't get any other buffs, he doesn't really get anything. Do you think that's going to come into play later on if this series does go longer?
I definitely think it will be something that he has to consider. Because ML Dreamblade Kayron is like super strong in the greens, right? And Snow's already shown that he's kind of heavily favored using green units. So
Yep.
that I think that does play a big part.
This will be interesting to watch this play out. We are seeing the Ruel picked up at the end there for Careless. What do we think? I'm seeing similar stuff from Snow. So apparently feeling like this is still the right counter, maybe the right pick. We're seeing mostly the same things, but do see an A. Coley here at the end. Talk to me about that pick. Why A. Coley?
I think the obvious ban here is, well, actually, I don't know, because S10 can potentially still snipe A. Coley out with a S1. Like if I were Snow here, this is setting up to ban the SSB and then just fight stealth with stealth. Because Kayron also heavily threatens the S10 as well. But between the barriers and the revive, I think S10 should be pretty safe here.
Gotcha.
So I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah. So we do see an SSB get banned, and as well DN. We are getting Snow is actually getting his Alencia and Charles up this time around. Do they do the things that they need to do to get this done? We also are seeing Kayron on Snow's side this time, and we don't know what. Do we know what artifact Snow has, or do we see that earlier?
We're about to find out very soon, and we're also waiting for opponents, so some things might be affected here.
Yeah, Snow's got a red bar up there.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't result in like a remake or something. At
least it started at the beginning. I think we're good.
All right, cool. But we've seen Snow utilize this A. Coley very much as a softening like tool, right? So we're gonna see if the Akoli's S3 damage here is gonna impact anything. Just manages to break the barrier, it doesn't do too much damage.
Mm-hmm. Into S3, I'm assuming this is just for the pushback.
To break the Akoli out of stealth, I think.
To reveal the Akoli.
Ah, good call, good call. That's got to be why. And they'll probably do the same thing again here with the S3, just to be able to get the skill nullifier up as well as to continue to do AoE damage. Or do you?
The skill nullifier will get broken by the Charles very easily, so he definitely thought about it and he decided that, you know, provoking the Akoli was a good line of play, because if the Akoli is debuffed, she does not function. Like her S2 doesn't function if she has debuffs.
Yeah, I don't think the Akoli is gonna live to see her next turn though.
She might. Oh, never mind.
It's
Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
The Elbrus of the Charles here is a very real possibility.
Only if
he goes with
she S3s.
Yeah.
Okay, she has the S3. Okay. So this Elbrus proc. This one Elbrus proc.
Do we see it happen?
If it happens.
Does
There
happen.
it is. This S2 proc.
Does it? Oh my
This
god.
S2 proc.
Dude, the
Oh,
caster
man,
curse.
is
What are
this
you
some caster's
saying? Turns it
curse?
around.
Is this some caster's curse? I'm so sorry. I swear.
He hasn't watched this fight before, boys. Not scripted. Unbelievable. So that's like a pretty good case scenario for Snow at this point. That's actually great because now you
forces
gotta
out
revive.
forces out the S3 very, very early on from Ruel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't even use the S3.
Yeah, and he is on Elias.
I don't think he's really in any pressure to bring her back right away, because chances are she's just gonna take her turn and then Kayron's gonna kill her again. So I
mean, that Kayron is on knife, right? So that Kayron represents quite a bit of damage
to the Ruel, right? So if the Ruel gets knocked out before she gets a chance to use that S3, does it end up being wasted? I mean, I definitely understand why you would use an S2 to keep your CC alive.
The provoke here does protect the Ruel in a very large amount, because then but the Alencia is going to go right before the Kayron. Luckily, she didn't get a Mind's Eyes proc here, but if she does stick the defense break, that Ruel could just straight up be dead.
Does not land it, gets the touch of Reikos.
Okay. Yeah, this still is going to hurt.
Some very real damage coming out from Snow.
Mm-hmm. You take a couple more turns like that, and then you find yourself, you know, hurting quite a bit. So now opts to go for this.
I'm not sure where she was on the CR bar.
She
took her turn, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
she should be at the bottom. Yeah, she died to an Elbrus.
All right, so you fishing with Charles right now, or where are we at with this? Or do you try to... Does look like we're going to fish.
Yeah.
Gets it. Gets the crit.
It was quite difficult to hit
That
the Ruel there, because
one
the Ruel
dead
does have
FCC?
touch of Rekos, right?
Thing is, that spinning here is going to be able to soul burn. He needs the hit down, I think. Okay, that's pretty big.
No, he gets the soul burn. He gets the soul burn.
I agree, though, too. That hit down on Spectre Tenebria is going to be pretty massive for the potential survival of the rest of the team. For Snow is going to burn, has enough souls for a burn, so we're going to see at least 2 S1s here. Will it be enough? Procs the immortality on
hits the
Kayron.
Kayron.
Does kill the Charles. That's... Jeez.
Okay, I think I hit the Kayron here.
Mm-hmm. So
so
now I have a question, right? I have a question in general to like almost everyone listening in. So how much do you prioritize effectiveness on Alencia, right? Because if you think about Alencia realistically, yes, a high damage Alencia is very attractive and she does a lot of work for you. But if you're ever facing against the Alencia, most of the time, for the majority of the match, are you more afraid of her dispelling and defense breaking you, or are you more afraid of her raw damage that she's outputting? So how much should you prioritize having enough effectiveness on Valencia? That's the question I want to ask.
It depends on your comp too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking at Careless up now 2-0. It hasn't updated yet, so that'll be updated here in a second next time we come back to this. But 2-0 now on Careless in this best of 5. Snow, like you guys were saying, is kind of favoring those green units. And I feel like Careless is sort of finding ways to be able to deal with these things. Do we see him sort of change it up at this point? We're going to go back into pick bans here just in a second. So we'll see if he does make the adjustments needed to make this happen, or do we still try and rely on those procs from Charles and Alencia?
First pick's the Alencia this time, so it's on the side of Careless.
That's a rough one, right?
So Snow kind
Careless
of
is almost forcing him to change it up.
We are seeing some immediate adaptation going. Wow, yeah, FCC, Spectre Tenebria, and Elena on Snow's side. And seeing almost not quite exactly the same, but like a similar type draft to what Snow was doing before now from Careless. Interesting. We do see the, okay. So now what? Now that you know that this Kayron is on Moonlight Dreamblade, now what? Like, now what do you do?
Was there a possibility of a switch?
I mean, not
probably
saying
not,
he couldn't
right?
do it. He probably could have done it, but I think the game started up so quickly. I'd be curious to see if it did happen.
I don't think Charles is a bad pick here still if you opt to ban the Kayron. There's only one more thing he can pick, and I don't think there's many picks that really threatens Charles at this point that are left.
There's no way that's an Angelica. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Ooh, the Haragod pick.
Oh, man.
Back again. Haven't seen this since last weekend. Plus, we get a Caesarado, which we have not also seen.
Man.
Yeah, Crown has not been very important today.
Where is the bald man copy pasta? Oh man, please show us some good Hirado.
So picks the Lilius into it. Okay, now we've got kind of some options here.
Does he ban the Hirado?
Hopefully not, because I want to see it. We haven't gotten to see it yet in this tournament. That would be awesome.
Do you guys think the Elena does a lot on this team? I feel like Tome Elena's good for anti-cleave, right? And doesn't really do much else.
The Elena, the awkward thing about the Elena is that Elena gives resist buff to the Caesarado. So, I mean, it's not like the Caesarado has that many debuffs to return anyway. So it's definitely feeling a little bit weird, right? But I mean, we could be seeing some sort of like mage artifact showcase, right? Where it's just a bunch of violins or crowns in play. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, very possible. We do have, this is going to be potentially the last game. If Careless finishes this up, it would be a solid 3-0, putting Snow into the 3rd and 4th place match against Tatsuni. Snow, back against the wall, is doing something completely different this time, so we'll have to see how this plays out. Getting a chance to see Hirado, can't complain with that at all. I'm actually very excited to see.
That is a pretty bulky Hirado. Opts to go for the silence, lands the silence, especially knowing that the Lilius has already moved. So that DN is going to take her turn while silenced before the Lilius gets a chance to cleanse that. Are you concerned at all for the amount of damage coming out from Snow's side?
I think that's going to heavily depend on how many defense breaks this Zerato lands.
I mean, the Zerato can potentially only land 3, right? The SSB is not going to be vulnerable to that because he opted not to go for the Dispel on turn 1.
So this goes into the skill nullifier. Obviously isn't going to really do any damage. Is that mostly just a... We're seeing that again. So he's obviously doing that intention, right? That was what he did in game 1 as well. Just kind of did it into invulnerability. Was like, yeah, it's fine. I would rather do something else. Oh my gosh. Everything stripped though and gets a defense break.
So that is unviolent. And she lands the defense break. So that is going to be another defense break coming out from the Caesarado the next turn. So that in itself is pretty big.
Yeah.
Imagine having a Caesarado queued up.
But cleanse the defense break, so that's kind of awkward.
Oh yeah, that is that too, huh? Oh, that could have been so nice.
I guess
that defense break on DN and SSB would have been so nice, but yeah, there's some weird anti synergy going on. guess it didn't matter because the Lilius took a turn, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. All that said, though, this is looking significantly better for Snow so far. So, how many more turns do we have to go before those? Are they just waiting for the effect resist to fall off on Careless side, and then we're gonna start seeing some like actual stuff come through? Because correct me if I'm wrong, is Careless who's the one that's running the DN? That was that Tatsu that's running the DN
This
that's
counter,
on the
yeah.
counter? Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at a very different DN here. Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness. Abyssal.
No cleanse.
There it is.
Oh my gosh, it's so unfair. You have to feel bad for this DN at this point. Let's see if he can capitalize on that.
Okay, if that is a crown, I am quite surprised the Horado has held the S3 up until now. So I guess eventually when we break down this match on the analyst desk, like, why do you think the Horado held his S3 for so long? Was it simply just to get rid of the Kairon immortality? Do you think it was worth?
I think it was
the
because
thing for that long.
even if he got a stun off, he knew that Elena was gonna put invincibility up, so there was not much reason there.
The Elena is on the side of Horado.
And with
Yeah, that's what I mean. The opponents would be stunned by Crown, and he doesn't really need the stun yet.
I see. I guess.
I think he was just holding because Deanne hasn't used anything yet.
Ooh.
But I think this is. So, chat, how many people are going to build Horado now?
This is
I
the
mean, it
second
depends on
time.
how
This
many-
is
how
the
many
second
people
time
this
though.
Kairon's
we've
gonna
seen
kill
this.
this turn, right?
Let's see first if he clutches it out. But if he does, that's twice
Oh,
now
dude.
we've seen him.
Well, because Horado is basically just like budget Bazaar, right? So, and you're not going to see Horado get banned because you have to. If you're going to ban anyone, you're going to ban Bazaar over Horado, right? So most people are going to have both
I can't
made.
imagine
so.
him not going for the
Yeah, I
super
think I-
stun here.
If he
Easy
knocks
triple
Kairon low
stun.
enough,
Oh, does not get it.
And I guess the other question would be, do you think the C Zerato was effective here? Especially with the Elena on his team. Do you think the C Zerato like did work? Oh, I guess the Elena is not there anymore, so if it's time to get to work, Zerato.
Yeah,
Oh, didn't get the violin proc.
yeah, I think this Champsy's dead here.
Didn't
yeah.
get
Oh my
got
gosh,
the
the
defense
turn-
break also. Oh man, feels bad.
This turnaround was pretty huge. So I think I'm pretty sure this is going to be it right here with a defense break as well as,
yeah.
that's a massive Kairon. So Careless ends up taking it all. The battle of the mind games between Snow and Careless takes it all. We're going to send this back to the analyst desk and allow them to tell us what the heck just happened.
Thank you for that. Careless, taken 3 rounds. Go Careless. I mean, what? Sorry, obviously unbiased opinion, but well, to be fair, let's get into round 1 and let's have Pantry talk about how that MLDB Kairon pulled through.
Well, that MLDB Kairon proc so many times. It was kind of weird because then we actually saw dual attacks here and there. RNG was like throwing out left and right. It was kind of insane. So match 1 was a reactive draft with both players responding to each other's elemental picks. DN was banned from Careless and Alencia was banned from Snow. Careless opens up with a turn 1 Lilius. However, the rest of his team was on a slower build. Elena was actually able to cut in front of the Kairon due to the SSB counter. And she denied a lot of damage, opening damage from Careless's Kairon and SSB. We saw multiple occasions where the Kairon actually refused to fall, thanks to the help of Moonlight Dreamblade. First, dodging the Spectre to Nibria's S3, a provoke coming from Cecilia, and every other attack coming out from like Spectre, Soulburn. While Kairon is in the Matrix, Careless Ruel fell with all the dual attacks because RNG has to be balanced some way. One way or another. Regardless of how it went, Kairon still refused to get executed and slayed the rest of Snow's team, leaving him with only Elena remaining. With a 1v1 with just Lilius and Elena, I would assume that Snow forfeited because then Lilius was most likely on a bruiser build, probably going to drop the Elena, especially when she has no way of healing and with Magaraha's home instead.
Yeah, that one's a little bit surprising, I would say. I felt like they might have been able to play that one out. There's a slight possibility of Elena, if she was on a speedier set, was Celestine make it come back. But I guess in this case, Snow was like, no, I think Careless got this. I'm just gonna concede here. No, not gonna. I'll try to take round 2. And so going into round 2, let's have Once in Love talk about how the draft might not have been as strong as we would have hoped.
Yeah, so round 2 was interesting. Round 2, we saw the last pick Akali here. So Careless had the Fallen Cecilia, Spectre Tenebria, SSB, and then the Lilius Roll last pick. Snow had a really good setup with the Alencia, Diane, Charles, Charon. A lot of green units had the Charon taken away as well. But we're just not sure what the point of the last pick Akali there was. I think, from my perspective, I would have liked to see something like a Crow. As we've seen throughout most of the tournament, Crow has been the best way to deal with Ruel. Maybe if you really wanted that fast nuker, even something like maybe a Mursa for the silence or an Acid for the silence and the pushback. But overall, I didn't feel like it was the right pick. The Akali just was shut down too easily. Lilius could deal with it. FSS could deal with it. There was the SSB, and then Spectre can just one-shot her with, you know, the multiple skill 1 setup. Besides that, I would say the Charles Elbers killing the Tenebria was a little bit unlucky. But there is one point where Careless actually saved his Ruel skill 3, didn't revive the Spectre Tenebria. And I think the reason that he did that was because he wanted to build up the souls. So what he did was he took the choice to heal his FSSE. He knew that most of Careless's cooldowns were up. So he just rotated and tried to get souls and then brought her back to life. Then she popped the soul burn and that was GG.
Yeah, definitely, I think a really smart choice on Careless's side there, holding the revive, and then in the end letting his Spectre Tenebria, once she was revived, to actually do enough work to clean up the round for him there. And on the last game, game 3, let's have Tiber talk about the Hurrado or Hurrah God. First time seeing that, but at the same time, how there's a bit of anti-synergy on Snow's side there.
For sure, like watching the draft go through, it started out great for Snow, and there was actually very strong synergy in the case of FCC and Elena. For those that aren't aware, if you hit a target that has skill nullifier and invincibility that Elena provides, you don't even break the skill null. So the turn order, at least in the early game, worked out phenomenally well for Snow. Charon had a complete dud turn, basically, only being able to S3 to set up attack buff. However, as we got into the later parts of the draft, with the 4th pick Caesarato and the 5th pick Corrado, we saw Elena's cleanse completely nullify what Caesarato's going to do into a team that admittedly didn't have that many debuffs. We just saw the SSB and that was it, pretty much, given the Alencia ban. And we had also talked about previously, you know, even though Caesarato is powerful for himself into units like SSB that can counter and transfer those debuffs, he still, if the debuffs were to land on the rest of the team, wouldn't do much anyway. You know, he's not supporting the rest of the team, only himself. And finally, Hura God, as you know, unique as his kit is, you know, a lot of people forget he decreases the healing received by the battlefield as well on the enemy side. He's got a really cool kit, but he got caught in a game of chicken as well with Diane, basically. You know, the casters had noticed until very late into the game, Hura God, as some would say, had held onto his S3 very long. The reason for that, I think, personally, would be, first of all, there was SSB. You know, you don't want to give her extra focus, which is just more free damage onto your team. As well as the fact that, you know, you don't want to S3 preemptively because Diane was locked down. There was silence in the turn 1, a dual attack to lock her down again after that. So Hurrado just really didn't see much at all. Oh, and I just got a message, confirmed high effect resist Diane Omega Low. That's funny.
Well, thank you for that. And congratulations on Careless for winning that match. Going to be going up against Code for the 1st and 2nd place match there. And but before that, we do have the 3rd place match, which is Tatsu versus Snow. And let's get into the 3rd place match there and see how it goes.
Thank you, guys. I thought I was going to have to come to this scene first, but it looks like we are jumping directly into pick and ban, so I'm going to change it right over here real fast. Guys, we're going into now knowing and seeing kind of a little bit of what Tatsu had and Snow had, and Snow actually having to go directly into this next game afterwards. Is he going to feel flustered by this? Is this going to be something that's going to be really hard? It's always hard mentally, I feel like, to step back in after getting a 3-0 loss just minutes before. What are we going to see? Do you think he goes back to his comfort first just to kind of feel out where Tatsu is?
I don't think so, because according to very reliable sources, Snow is not only great at this game, the best tactician, but also extremely handsome. So I have faith that Snow is going to bounce back, and Snow is going to put up a good show.
That's fair. That's fair.
So as we noticed there, he took the Ras from Tatsu, which I think is pretty big, actually.
Yeah,
have we seen Snow use Ras yesterday, though? I can't remember. I feel like we did. Do we not? I'm going to look. Hold on one second. I've got a spreadsheet. I will look in a second. Let's see. Ooh, we are getting the Tatsuni. There it is. That ambitious Tywin that just keeps coming back. Have we been seeing? I'm trying to remember. There was at least 1 or 2 successful games, I think, with the character so far, at least.
Yesterday there was, but today his showing was very uneventful.
And a Violet.
That is interesting. Talk to me about that Violet pick. Why is that a surprise to you, Warball?
I don't know. Maybe Dizzy's not on the field yet. Maybe it deters a Dizzy pick. I don't know about Violet into SSB, or because he doesn't really do much against anything else on this team. But Violet can potentially hit pretty hard. I mean, I guess, but there's potentially defense buff on the other team if he doesn't ban out the Alencia. There's anti-crit. But
Ops to ban out the FCC and the Alencia on the other side. So the only damage dealer we're seeing, I mean, okay, now mind you, we do know that this ambitious Tywin actually does damage, but I guess we'll see how that damage plays out with just the SSB on that side. Here we go into game 1 of the 3rd and 4th place match between Snow X and Tatsuni.
So let me ask you guys here, right? Who do you think Raz S2 is going to bring out of these 3 units?
Probably Tenny. Oh, it picked Violet.
It is the Violet. So that's going to be pretty crucial information going forward, right?
For sure.
I guess I'm also fairly surprised that he went for that on turn 1, giving that information.
Oh, the resist.
Yeah, I think defense buff might have been a little bit more important.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially hindsight now after doing an S2 and not getting the strip. Hindsight for sure feels like the S3 would have been the right call.
He went for the S2 on the DN, right? So there was a very low chance that he landed the defense break there. But also very unfortunate that the S10's S3 got countered by the Elbrus. And that might have just killed her out.
It did, yeah.
That one turn where the Elbrus would have mattered. Since especially because Snow just has no form of healing on his side of the team, and now he doesn't even have that great of a way to use his souls. I guess the Raz S2 is going to come into play, but it's looking like a very rough game here. That Elbrus from ML Tywin actually hurt so much.
Yeah, they heard what Ark was saying about only 1 damage dealer.
I could see he probably went for the S1 outright.
And he got the crit.
And
he got the crit.
I think that's the main reason he didn't put up defense buff, is because of the SSB stacks. But I think that the defense buff might have made a huge difference in whether S10 died there or not.
I think so too.
It's a counter attack to boost the DN ahead.
Come in. Yeah, we didn't even get to see if the S2 from SSB crit or not.
Concede right off the bat, and we are already now 1 game into the 3rd and 4th place match. Snow, man, I feel for him because not just because he's on my team, but literally also because this has to be like that 4 in a row thing, and you're like, you know that feeling when you're playing RTA and you lose 4 in a row, and you're like, I quit, and you throw your phone at a wall and you just basically don't come back to it for a while. he can't do that right now. Like, there's still money on the line and there's still potential here. What, like, knowing again that he is the pick ban, like I would say quite the master of pick ban phase, how much is he going to change this up? He is, okay, still opting in for the FCC first. I was thinking like, man, Violet early, that'd be interesting.
I mean, it depends. There's no way for us to sort of like glimpse into his mental state right now.
Right.
So we can just assume. We can only assume that he's keeping his composure and he's speaking correctly. He didn't really get too much information from that round 1 against Tatsu earlier, other than the fact that that Elbrus hurt a lot. So I think he really just needs to fall back on some of his most well-built and confident units, and keep his wits about him and see if he can like at the very least get more information and make the match closer.
Do you think that Roz pick that may have not been one of Snow's, because I don't think we saw him use it too much, and I think he was mostly just trying to stop Tatsu from getting it?
Yeah, I think Ross and the SSB, like it makes it very awkward to use his defense buff turn 1, right? Where opposed to like Crow hits one thing and gives you defense buff.
So here's the other thought, right? Maybe his S2 he was deliberately trying to put up immunity.
That's also true.
Right, against the SSB's turn 1.
Violet.
But exactly. So, but then the next question is, if he knew that the target was going to be Violet, then was that S2 the right play? Because if that was on, for example, the Specteni, right, then I would completely see why he goes for that S2. But the fact that it was on Violet, and maybe Violet wasn't the one who needed the immunity, so that S2 first turn is still a big question mark for me.
I'm a little curious what you guys think about the Rowana last pick.
Rowana is just very solid in this draft.
I think he knew very well who he was going to ban, and he knew very well that he was going to ban the S10. So that leaves the only source of damage coming on Snow's side to be the SSB, and Rowana existing simply mitigates a lot of what SSB wants to do just by having the passive S2.
And in the same sense, Snow kind of drafted around banning Alencia at the same time, because his first 2 picks were DN, FCC, which are pretty bad into Alencia, and then following up with the SSB. I think at that point you kind of have to get rid of her. So Rowana was a pretty safe pick to not get banned out, because then you're fighting Alencia otherwise.
Very interesting drafts. We'll see how this plays out. I think initially my thought with the Rowana was against a team where the only thing that really has a like legitimate rebuttal against you is the SSB. It felt like kind of an interesting pick to me. That's why I asked, is Rowana gonna have that long-term power? Is that what you guys are saying? You think that she will have the long-term power just from the SSBs kind of hitting back, or do you think?
100%. Between the defense up from Raz and just the rest of his team being very bulky overall, it's gonna make I have no doubt it's gonna make the SSB S2 like almost a non-factor, and we're gonna see it right here, right? So there's no barriers. We're gonna see how much damage this does.
Negative damage.
Raz is also gonna keep that on Ravi, which is pretty big, because the only thing to stop Rowana from doing her thing is gonna be SSB's S3 here. And with the immunity coming out from Ras, it's going to be very hard for SSB to do that.
I really don't think there's any feasible way this Rowana is going to die.
The only way would be landing unhealable, right? That's your biggest option.
Yeah, you'd have to land unhealable, and then you have to really do many things. That's not an unhealable.
But you're right, many things, because you have to go through so much defense. There's a lot of defensive barrier that is going to be able to stop that incoming damage to be able to finish her off within that amount of time.
Yeah, like if you're ever trapped in a situation where Rowana is very oppressive to you, you are actually super trapped, because you can't even rely on RNG things like dual attacks, right? Because Rowana doesn't care about that either.
Right.
So if you're ever in a position where you don't have a very good way of getting rid of the Rowana, you really don't have a very good way of getting rid of the Rowana.
So
So this Roana is gonna be a big player in this match.
quick predictions from you guys. After these buffs are gone off of Snow's side, is that the time that Tatsuni just like takes it all back and just basically turns this whole thing around?
I think this is going to be one of those fights that goes into high frenzy.
Okay.
And we're going to see how much work Roana does until that point, until Aravi starts popping off late game with the Ras S2s. I think it's kind of how this fight's going to play out.
Gotcha. Well, some good picks there on Tatsuni's side.
Yeah. So I mean, we see Snow focusing on the ML Tywin here, right? And I will say that despite having super good stats, super high HP, very good damage, very high outburst proc chance on this ML Tywin, the one thing that he struggles to do is to cycle his own S2. We know for a fact that he cleanses on his S2, but that only happens every time he takes a turn. So him being so slow could mean that he's gonna like allow some debuffs to stick. So if there is a chance for Snow to put a heavy dent on like Tatsu's team, it would be, you know, if he can outspeed and like overwhelm with like effective debuffs.
Quick question. If you were, and this just may be me just overthinking it or not understanding the mechanics, so explain this one to me. With Ambitious Tywin on Tatsuni's side, is there a possibility, oh, that's a ton of damage coming in. Is there a possibility that his whole purpose of that was just to make sure that the souls never got high enough for SSB to burn and land that unhealable constantly?
I would be inclined to say no, right? Because if that was the A Tywin's purpose here, I'd imagine that he would be running perhaps a little bit faster. I think the A Tywin here is just here to be a counter plus Elber's proc, and he knows that his A Tywin is pretty effective and does really good damage. So if he was banking on the soul reduction from his S1, I'd imagine that if the A Tywin would be a little bit faster than this.
Interesting.
Do you notice, like chat's talking about the dual attacks? Like this is a Rosa Hargana SSB. So like the dual attacks are actually making a difference, I think. Because the Roana, like a single dual attack, like when it hits that hard, like on that Ras, it's not going to make much of a difference.
This situation right here.
Is this it? Does he finish?
Right
oh
here.
my gosh.
Exactly.
I thought that was
so
going to
big.
happen because he crushed him so hard last hit. So having defense break does take out the Tywin. Now what? Are you able to finish off this Ravi? Or does Ravi actually finish here? Does he crit?
He needs that big hit here. He doesn't have a partner, gets the crit.
He does get the crit.
Okay, and that's the turn. I think.
That's it. That was the one that turned it around. Tatsuni.
I think, yeah, I don't think there's a way for him to combat the Aravi anymore. But yeah, that right there, that was the chink in A Tywin's armor, right? The fact that he was so slow that he couldn't cycle his S2 fast enough.
Dang, that's huge. So Tatsuni now up 2-0. We haven't gotten a chance to, and I'll have to check in with Katie here in a second, but I believe that we were going to try and get some interviews with the third and fourth place matches as well at some point. So we will actually be able to hear some insight into hopefully their mindsets on these as well too, which I think is going to be super important and super cool moving forward, just to hear kind of where they're at and what their thought processes were on why they made the choices that they did. So that should be coming up here as we continue forward, but Snow's not out yet. There's still one more at minimum game to jump into here. Tell me what you guys think is the only option. You're now down 5 games as Snow. Are you about to just put on a show because you're like, look, man, let's just go for it. Like, I just want to have some fun. I'm going to play some picks that are just going to be interesting, or do you just go for it? Do you just try and actually continue to keep moving it forward? Because Fire Tenebria already feels like a slightly different style from Snow so far too. So what do you think about that? What do you guys think he's going to do?
I mean, you definitely have to get out of any sort of like negative mindset, right? Like,
Yeah.
At this point, what have you to lose?
That's so much easier said than done, though. Like he's been playing all day, yesterday included, and now what is he? You said Ark?
He's
0-5?
five games down right now in the last little bit. So he lost 3, went 3-0, and then goes into this one, and he's now, or sorry, 0-3, and now is going 0-2
So Lilac's
right
definitely
now.
correct. Like, he has to just not let it affect him and play his own game. But man, that is so tough.
That's super tough.
On one hand, there is the just recovered lol forehead, but I think that the fact that he made it this far, I don't know him personally, but I do want to believe, and I want to have faith that, you know, he does have the capacity, the mental capacity to, you know, not let it get to him too much.
Oh, I would agree.
At least that's the hope.
Yeah, and I think with them being the legend players that they are, that's semi-expected that would be the case, because you don't hit legend not having at least a little bit of mental fortitude. So, very, very true. We are into this game. Tell me about these picks. Thoughts on the Fire Tenebria here, and how does that kind of change things up?
Against 3 blue units, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Especially with like the immunity coming out from Ras as well. So I'd be surprised if Zatini did a lot here. But then again, I've had my K-Ron one-shot an entire team of blue units, so it's possible that she could do some stuff.
I'm a little bit surprised that the Tenny wasn't really coupled with some sort of dispeller, right, to enable her to do the things that she wants to do. And in fact, does get stunned here. So maybe Snow was like looking at some of the units that Tatsu built, and then he realized maybe he caught on some potential units without that high effective resistance, and he tried to put some sort of debuff pressure on, but we might not get to see that here because, well, his Tenny got stunned. Do you think the Dizzy dies here? He has souls.
Doesn't go for it though.
Doesn't go for the soul burn, and he tries to go for the doesn't crit.
Doesn't
gets
crit.
the
Does
stun.
get the stun though. Yeah.
I think saving
I
the
think
soul
the
burn
Tenny-
for the multi-target S1 is a smarter play personally.
Lands the defense break. Okay.
That was also a curious S2. Maybe he was just fishing for the crit, right? Because he had to have known that the SSB was going to be the target. So instead of just taking the very clean kill, he decided to go for the Charles. That's a proof of valor on SSB. This could be problems. This could be problem.
It
Because,
does. I mean,
that
this is
SSB
looking
is gonna
like
take a
backs
little
against the
bit to
rope
take down,
scenario
right?
here. Do we think that there's even a possibility of comeback? There's so much healing and still a good chunk of tank over on Tatsu's side. It feels like this is probably GG.
Looking
Yeah.
like a little bit GG.
I think this is over.
A little bit too late on this one, but man, I gotta hand it to Snow, like to both of these players. Honestly, both of you guys.
Unless the double crit on both the DP, never mind. Wait. Potential?
Not quite. Plus the rebuttal
not
here. Is
quite,
that going to be
not
enough?
quite,
Too tanky.
Not quite. Extra. Wait!
No drink, though.
Wait.
No drink, so you don't
Wait.
finish.
Just get the crit on both the DPS unit? Oh.
That was 2 dual attacks too. And with all
Yeah, no.
That's, yeah, unfortunately, looking like unless Charles can do, and
Yeah,
it's
no.
not going to be. Yep. Tatsuni takes 3rd place, putting Snow in 4th place. GG's, you guys. We're going to hand this back to the analyst desk to break that down, and they'll let us know about those interviews.
Hello. Thank you. Yeah, so let's have our analysts here take us through those 3 games first, and then we're definitely gonna try to get some interviews through here. So game 1 first. Once in Love, take us through game 1 and how that ML Tywin might have been, a very impactful unit there, contrary to what a lot of people say.
Yeah, so people are talking about ML Tywin being pretty bad. I actually think in this situation, ML Tywin is a very, very good deny pick into the Spectre Tenebria, especially since he's on both counter and Elbrus. It gives him multiple chances. It forces the Charles ideally not to go for, the big AoE because you know that the Elbrus is most likely to proc when you hit 4 units. You also have the showing really early where Show snows off that his Violet has higher attack than his S10. Although I don't think most of the decision making really mattered. I think that Tatsu actually pretty heavily outdrafted Snow in this game. I really, really, really think that people underestimate how much damage the A Taiwan puts out alongside the SSB and the A Ravi. There's not actually that many ways for Snow to kill a unit in the first 2 turns without just getting smacked entirely by A Taiwan, SSB, and then the A Ravi skill 3 nuke. So like if he does kill someone, the A Ravi will just revive them right away. Besides that, though, I must say, not being a little bit delayed watching the matches, the best thing ever is just hearing Lilac yell, wait, unless, because I just get so excited like to see what's about to happen.
For sure. Lilac definitely makes for a fun caster there. We hear some interesting things. Yeah, we've over this tournament from him. I gotta say, Lilac, great job there. Game two, let's have Tiber take us through game 2 and how that draft was a little interesting there.
Yeah, for sure. We saw a really, really strong draft from Tatsumi, having the presence of mind to notice that with Alencia and Elena on the board, it's guaranteed shoe-in. Alencia is going to be banned. Let's draft the Rowana, and all of a sudden, based on the way that Snow drafted, I don't know, like being able to single target ban the Spectre Tenebria meant that the only damage source, reliable damage source, coming out on Snow's side was an SSB into ML Tywin and Rowana. Basically, every single time that SSB was trying to do their own thing, Tatsu's gonna heal, Tatsu's gonna cleanse, and just keep the team up while he slowly chips away with his Aravi and the ML Tywin that does deal quite a bit of damage. However, halfway into the game, despite the really strong early game showing from Tatsumi, the Rosa Hargana on SSB actually put in a lot of work. Based on the speed differential with ML Taiwan being so slow, he, as the caster said mentioned, he wasn't able to cycle his skill 2 as often, and the armor break set up from SSB and the Rosas packing in quite a bit of damage allowed for a really big opening for a kill. With that being said, though, like Aravi was always there. There was always that emergency escape button with the S3 revive, and fortunately for Tatsu, landing the 50-50 crit from Aravi onto SSB, killing the only damage dealer, meant that it was GG.
Yeah, definitely some interesting synergy there that probably could have been done a little bit better there, but I mean, all of us run to hasty decisions sometimes during drafts. And Pantry, take us through game 3 and what happened there.
All right, so game 3 was basically Dizzy just got let through. Because she was let through that entire time and RB was banned instead, it was kind of problematic for Snow. Especially when his Elena also got banned as well from Tatsu. It actually made it such a problem because then because Tatsu was left with both the SSB and the Dizzy, there were so many debuffs. It was a matter of time until Snow was actually just going to be dropped with a load of debuffs, and then he wouldn't be able to recover. So Tatsu basically starts off with turn 1. He sets up like mitigation with the defense up from Ras and everything else. So Ras typically is really, really fast. The Dizzy held down the Fire Tenebria while the Spectre held down the Dizzy. Nothing really mattered. The mages just done mage things. But the SSB was basically left alone while the focus is all on the Dizzy. It was actually really bad, and then the SSB executed Snow completely. Snow was already, even with all the extra dual attacks and the soul burns coming out from the Spectre, he couldn't recover. He was already too low. There was too many debuffs. The game was done.
Yeah, definitely difficult to recover from that. Thank you so much for that. All right. So we're gonna do some quick interviews here. We're gonna interview Snow first, and then afterwards we'll interview Tatsu. Okay. Hello, Snow X. Can you hear me? And are you able to say something just to make sure if the mic is working?
You will have to turn on push to talk.
Oh, who is that? Yo, is that Jesus? Give me a second here. So Snow, you will have to use push to talk if you don't have that assigned there. Let me see.
I think he's serving you.
Give me a second here.
He's not server muted. He just needs to assign a push to talk key.
Yeah, it looks like he's on the mobile, so might be a little bit difficult to. I'm not sure where the mobile has it.
One moment, I'll screenshot it.
Okay. All right. I guess we can do this another way. We can have him type his answers, and we can have Tiber dub it over since we don't take up too much time here. Let's do that, and I guess you'll be okay with that, right, Snow? So we'll have you type out your answers, and we'll have our resident Tiber do the dubbing. All right. So first question here for Snow is general question. How did you enjoy the tournament overall? All right, Tiber.
All right, he says, really fun, level up together, did a great job. Then he wants to thank them for hosting it.
Okay, and then question 2. Do you feel like this was a good learning experience here for you?
But he's saying, yeah, a lot of spots where he didn't know where to draft. Learned a lot from the players that he played.
Okay, and then question 3, a little bit more specific. Was it mentally exhausting for you to play so many rounds in a row? Should we have given a bit more of a break regarding that?
He says, nah, it was fine. Tatsu and Careless just owned me. XD. Big shoutouts to the XD. I'll read it. Fleet recruiting, by the way, he says.
And last question. Are there units you wish you would have built up to be used, but you don't currently own, or you just never thought about building up yet here?
He says, don't own Crow would be nice. And A Vild and ML Haste. Well, we still got time on that last one there.
I'll be honest, the Crow one is a little surprising that I didn't expect SnowX doesn't have Crow, but okay. Free to play, by the way. That apparently looks like SnowX is missing half the RGB units. So guys, keep this in mind. You guys don't need all the units to do well. All right, thank you for that, SnowX. I appreciate your time. And I'm going to interview Tatsu next. All right, Tatsu, are you able to push talk? Can I just get a quick test?
Yep.
All right, good. I can hear you. All right, so we'll start off with the same questions again, real quick. General question: How did you enjoy the tournament here?
It was absolutely a lot of fun. Like playing against players that are in equal terms of strengths was a lot of fun for sure.
Okay. And I guess to you, did you feel like this was a good learning experience overall compared to doing like RTA on the normal ladder?
I mean, it is obviously different when you face the same people multiple times. And like you have to change up the draft, and maybe the opponent knows what you're picking, so he prevents the unit, so it's different than normal RTA for sure.
And another general question, or a little bit interesting question here, is how did it feel like playing against so many guildmates? Was it more difficult with them knowing your roster, knowing what units you have, and that kind of stuff?
I mean, mostly against Code. Like, Code is someone who picks all the units that I pick. So if I face against him, it's basically he picks the units that I pick, and on top of that, he also has other units he has built he can pick. So I try to pick something different that he doesn't really use, but didn't work for me. So well, that's whatever.
Okay, and then probably a question that a lot of chat wants to know is, what made you think or even decide to build ML Tywin, considering how many people, think he's a weak unit? And how do you actually like using him? How do you feel like he is? Do you think he's a strong unit?
Well, I wouldn't say he's a strong unit. He is usable if you invest a lot of resources into him. The thing about Moonlight Tywin is if you look at his kit, you see the most unique mechanic of his kit is S2, which removes debuffs if he gets hit. The thing about Tywin is that he has to get a turn to get the passive ready again. So you probably want to have him fast, but he doesn't really work if he's fast. He just doesn't do anything. So I was like, maybe I put a lot of HP, a lot of crit damage on him, and he works fine, I guess. He's really tanky, he can counter, so that's the only way I can see him being usable. But I would definitely want to see a buff, like remove his S2 cooldown would be great.
Okay, that's good insight. Thank you. And last question of all, are there any units you don't own or you haven't built up that you wish you would have built for this tournament, as it would have helped you here?
Yeah, I still don't have a Fighter Maya. I wish I had her. I think it's like the only Moonlight unit I'm missing right now. Still no Fighter Maya. Feels.
Fighter Maya, interesting. That's like me not having a fat cat. All right, thank you very much, Tatsu. Appreciate your time, and thank you for participating in the tournament here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Those matches just now. We're gonna take a quick short break again, as most of you probably have some sweaty bums. So get up, stretch, grab some water. If not, you guys can sit here and mold.